Have you ever felt the need to explain yourself? Every time you say no, make a mistake, or choose something for yourself? Why do we feel guilty when someone misunderstands us? Why do we keep trying to prove that our intentions were good? Maybe because we've forgotten something important. You don't have to explain every choice you make. Today, I'll tell you a Japanese wisdom story of Yuna, a woman who spent years trying to make everyone understand her. In a quiet Japanese village, surrounded by rice fields, cedar trees, and misty mountains, lived a woman named Yuna. She managed her home beautifully. Her cooking was admired. Her work was always finished on time. Yuna seemed to have a perfect life. But she was tired from something nobody could see. She was tired of explaining herself. She didn't know how to protect her own peace. She explained herself about everything, all the time. If someone made a simple comment, Yuna would explain. If someone misunderstood a small thing, Yuna would explain even more. If she said no, she would give 5 reasons. If she made a mistake, she would explain how it happened. And if someone looked disappointed, Yuna immediately felt guilty. She couldn't bear the thought of someone being unhappy with her, because somewhere deep inside, Yuna believed that being misunderstood meant being a bad woman. And that fear had slowly taken control of her life. One morning, Yuna was walking toward the village market with a woven basket in her hand. She met her friend Ayumi on the narrow village path. Ayumi looked at the basket. "Going to the market?" Yuna immediately smiled. "Yes, but I only need a few things." She paused. "I didn't go last week because I was busy, and today I only need vegetables and rice, actually. I'm not going to buy anything unnecessary." Ayumi looked at her for a moment. Then she smiled. "Yuna, I only asked if you were going to the market." Yuna became quiet. "Oh," Ayumi laughed gently. "You don't have to explain everything." She continued walking and said, "Yuna, you explain too much." Those words stayed in Yuna's mind. One afternoon, the villagers gathered in the community courtyard. It was harvest season. Women sat together on woven mats, cleaning rice, sorting beans, and preparing vegetables. Yuna arrived a little late. She immediately bowed. "I'm sorry I'm late. I had some work at home and then I had to..." One of the women smiled. "It's all right, Yuna. Come and sit." It was Chiyo. Yuna looked around. Yuna quietly went and sat beside her. Chiyo was a woman in her late 60s. She was one of the most respected women in the village. Young women came to her when they needed advice. Families sometimes asked her to help settle disagreements. People trusted her. Yuna had always respected her. That afternoon, the two women worked side by side. For several minutes, neither spoke. They simply sorted the harvest. Then Chiyo looked at Yuna. "You seem distracted today." Yuna smiled. "I'm fine." Then she remembered what had happened with Ayumi. "I just had a small misunderstanding with Ayumi this morning." Chiyo continued sorting the beans. "What happened?" Yuna began explaining. "I was going to the market, and she asked if I was going again. I told her I only needed a few things because I hadn't gone last week, and I wasn't planning to buy anything unnecessary." Chiyo listened quietly. Then she asked, "Did Ayumi ask for all those reasons?" Yuna stopped. "No." "Then why did you give them?" Yuna looked down at the beans in her hands. "Because..." She hesitated. "I didn't want her to think badly of me." Chiyo nodded. "I see." They continued working. After a moment, Chiyo said, "That must be tiring." Yuna gave a small laugh. "It is." Chiyo looked at her. "Yuna, you don't have to make everyone understand you." Yuna looked up and asked Chiyo, "But what if they misunderstand me?" Chiyo calmly placed another bean into the basket. "Then they misunderstand you." Yuna frowned. "Isn't that a problem?" Chiyo smiled gently and replied, "Sometimes it's a problem. But explaining yourself again and again doesn't always change what someone thinks." Yuna became quiet. Chiyo put down the beans and sighed. "Yuna, You are spending too much energy protecting an image of yourself that exists inside other people's minds. Yuna remained silent. Chiyo continued. You explain because you want them to see your intentions. You want them to know you meant well. You want them to forgive you. Yuna nodded. Chiyo looked at her calmly. But you cannot control what another person chooses to believe. After a moment, Chiyo looked toward the narrow road that passed beside the courtyard. Villagers were walking along it, carrying baskets, bundles of vegetables, and firewood. Chiyo said quietly, Yuna, look at that road. Every person walking on that road is going somewhere different. Some are going home. Some are going to the fields. Some are going to the market. And some are simply walking and enjoying the weather. A farmer passed carrying a bundle of vegetables. He didn't stop to explain where he was going. He simply continued towards his home. Chiyo continued. Now imagine that every person stopped in the middle of the road to ask the others, Am I walking correctly? Am I going too slowly? Am I going too fast? Yuna laughed softly and said, They would never reach their destination. Exactly, Chiyo replied. Chiyo returned to sorting the beans and said, But you do this with your life. You take one step, then stop to see what someone thinks. You make a choice, then stop to explain it. You say no, then spend the rest of the day wondering whether someone is angry with you or not. Chiyo looked at her. Yuna, you cannot walk your own road while constantly checking whether everyone approves of your direction. Yuna lowered her eyes and asked, But what if I make the wrong choice? Chiyo replied. Then learn from it. Yuna asked again, What if I hurt someone? Chiyo replied. Apologize. Yuna asked again, What if someone disagrees with me? Chiyo paused and said, Listen, but don't explain. And then, keep walking. Chiyo said softly, Being a good person does not mean making everyone agree with your path. You are responsible for your actions, but you are not responsible for everyone's opinion of you. Remember this, Yuna. Those who truly love you will not need a courtroom full of explanations to understand your heart. And those who have already decided to misunderstand you may never be satisfied with any explanation. Yuna's eyes became moist. For the first time, she understood what she had been doing to herself. She had been trying to earn peace by making everyone else happy, but peace could never come from there. Yuna took a slow breath. For years, she had been so busy explaining every step that she had forgotten to enjoy the journey. That evening, Yuna returned home. She prepared the meal and had dinner. Then she sat quietly near the window. The village had become peaceful, and she remembered all the times she had said, Let me explain. That's not what I meant. Please understand. I only did it because... She had spent years trying to prove that she was a good person. But why? Why was she so afraid of being misunderstood? Yuna didn't have an answer, and that question stayed with her. A few days later, Yuna's neighbor asked her to help her in preparing a meal. Yuna said, I won't be able to help you. Her neighbor asked, Why? Yuna opened her mouth. The old habit returned. She wanted to explain everything. But then she remembered Chiyo. She took a breath. I am already tired with my house chores. I want to take rest. Her neighbor became quiet. Then she nodded. All right, maybe next time. That was it. No argument, no anger, no disaster. Yuna smiled. She had just discovered something important. A simple answer could be enough. Of course, changing wasn't easy. One afternoon, Ayumi told Yuna, You should save more money. Yuna immediately felt defensive. She wanted to explain every purchase, but she stopped herself. I understand your concern, she said. I've thought about it. Her friend looked at her. That's all? Yuna smiled. Yes, that's all. She walked home feeling strangely light. She realized she didn't have to win every conversation. She didn't have to make everyone agree, and she didn't have to prove that every choice she made was correct. Months passed. Yuna became quieter, not cold, not rude, just peaceful. She was still kind, still helpful, still respectful. But she no longer explained herself to people who had already decided what they wanted to believe. One evening, Yuna sat beside Chiyo again during the village harvest work. They were sorting vegetables together. Yuna smiled. "Chiyo-san, yes? I think I finally understand." Chiyo looked at her. "What?" "I used to think being a good person meant making everyone happy." Chiyo smiled and asked. "And now?" Yuna said. "I think being a good person means being honest, being kind, and taking responsibility when I'm wrong." She paused. "But it doesn't mean controlling what everyone thinks about me." Chiyo nodded. "Good." Yuna smiled and said, "I can apologize when I'm wrong. I can listen to advice. But I don't have to defend every choice I make." Chiyo looked at her warmly. "Now you understand. Peace doesn't come when everyone understands you. Peace comes when you no longer need everyone to understand you." Yuna smiled, and somehow, those simple words felt like freedom. She smiled. "I don't need everyone to understand me. I only need to know that I am living honestly." And Yuna finally learned to do the same, because sometimes, the most powerful answer is not a long explanation. Sometimes, it is simply knowing who you are and having the courage to let that be enough. Years later, Yuna still made mistakes. She still disappointed people sometimes. She still said no. She still changed her mind. But she no longer panicked when someone misunderstood her. When she was wrong, she apologized. When she hurt someone, she tried to make it right. When someone gave her advice, she listened. And when someone simply disliked her choice, she let them have their opinion. She no longer chased people with explanations. She no longer spent her nights replaying every conversation. She had finally learned something Chiyo had understood for years. Being kind does not mean being available to everyone. Being respectful does not mean agreeing with everyone. And being a good woman does not mean keeping everyone happy. Now, she simply walked, quietly, honestly, without explanation. And perhaps that was the greatest freedom she had ever found. Because sometimes, you don't lose people when you stop explaining yourself. Sometimes, you finally stop losing yourself. And sometimes the most peaceful sentence you can say is simply, "This is my choice, and I am at peace with it."